Hi, I'm Drew.
And I'm Sam.
And welcome to Drewling Samantics.
Well, here I am on my own, waiting for my mate to join me. I wonder if I'll recognise him. Where is it? And there he is, that lovely little smiling face. Hello, buddy.
Hello, bud. How are you?
I'm very, very well. Very well. I mean, I wondered whether I'd recognise you or not because, I mean, it's been quite a few days since I've seen you, hasn't it?
I think I said the same last week, but our listeners are definitely going to think we're a broken record, mate, because literally every time we come on at the moment, we're like, hi, how you doing? Yeah, great. I'm seeing you in an hour or so.
And guess what?
Well, yeah. Samey. We're off to Brighton later.
We're off to Brighton later on. Brilliant stuff. Brilliant. Yeah. Yeah. So since I last saw you just a few days ago, what have you been up to, buddy? You had a good week?
Well, I mean, I suppose better start off with when I last saw you, because we had a cracking weekend, didn't we?
We did.
Very busy, very hot weekend. With a couple of shows. I did 3 shows. You did sort of the first and the last of those 3 because you had something else in between. But we had a wonderful show on the Friday, albeit a very warm show. Hottest day of the year, was it? I think 32 degrees or something. And
yes, yeah.
Distinct lack of air conditioning, but nonetheless a great show. And then obviously another one on the Sunday, a Father's Day special, which was rather enjoyable. Really lovely audience. So yeah,
that was nice, wasn't it? Lovely family audience. That was really lovely.
And
good fun.
I had one in between, which went equally as well. Really, really good fun. So a couple of good shows. After that, after the weekend was over, I've had a couple of sort of odd random bits like prep for stuff and self-tapes and voiceover things. And but mainly it's all been leading up to off again doing an immersive dinner show with yourself tonight. So yeah. What about go on, what are you going to say?
No, I was going to say, sorry to interrupt you, but I was going to say you mentioned, we'll be in Brighton a little bit later on with each other. That's where I've been this week.
Oh, of course. Yes, you've started.
Yes. I have, yes. So it's a bit of deja vu for me, not only seeing you, but seeing good old Brighton again.
Yeah.
We started the rehearsals for One Man, Two Governors midweek, which was great. We were slightly stymied by the rail disruptions, but So we're split between some of us are coming from London to Brighton to rehearse. So if we'd have rehearsed the other way around, in London, there would have been a Brighton contingency coming. So next week it'll be fine. But we had a good week. It's an interesting piece because we're playing it. I mean, it's a very everybody. I mean, most people are familiar with One Man, Two Governors and the success it was. But we're going to do it. We're doing it open air. So there is at the Brighton Open Air Theatre. So there's an extra. Not so we say difficulty, but an extra discipline to deal with there, in so much as, I mean, it's a big, broad style anyway. You're throwing it out there, and there are big characters, so the volume level won't be a problem, in so much as we can play it loud.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. The staging is going to be interesting because you don't have wings in the traditional sense of the word. We will be we'll be nipping behind. There are sort of wing spaces created at Boat, as it is known, but we'll be dealing with an open air production, playing in a like an amphitheatre as well, so that it's almost in the round. So it's but lovely cast. Some of whom I know, some I know of and haven't worked with before. The director and I have been. We've been around a few times together, so that's good. We know each other frighteningly well, but it's great. So and the director set himself a lovely task. He's going to be directing and playing Francis, which is the lead. So hooray! He's going to be busy boy.
what with as our fans and followers will know, you yourself have experienced playing a lead role and directing, so he has set himself no small feat, I would suggest.
No, indeed. But I mean, good thing is we've all done quite a bit of prep before on the script and that, because we know that we've got 2 weeks rehearsal, which is given the fact that we've all done weekly rep and stuff like that before, it's not too bad. But it is a big play in an interesting space to get on in 2 weeks. So yeah, it'll be noses to the grindstone and plow on.
Actually, you say you mentioned prep there. I've just remembered something else I've done this week. I've been chatting and organising things with next week's guest. So I've been doing a little bit of prep work there. But yeah, very exciting guest coming up who's had some interesting things happen recently. So should be really fun to chat to. Very, very excited for that. Another really exciting guest. So that should be good.
And talking of exciting things happening to guests, Sam.
I know what's coming up. Yeah,
it's coming up. And talking of Sam's as well. Our lovely guest last week, Sam Quested. We had a fabulous time with. Brilliant, we must send our and all our listeners and subscribers congratulations to Sam, because he got engaged to his lovely other half, Robin. So we'll send our congratulations to the pair of them.
Raise a glass to Sam and Robin. Congratulations, guys.
Congratulations. Good news.
Hang on, what the bloody hell are you drinking?
That, my friend, is orange juice. And you're on the water.
But everyone knows why I'm on the water. Why are you on orange juice?
Oh, I'm driving and I'm going to be seeing you in an hour's time.
Oh, no, that's
2 hours
a very
time.
good point. Yeah, no, that is a very good. It didn't stop you last time. I'm sure you had a beer before we got on the road. I might have had a little one. Yeah. Shandy. Yeah. But it's interesting talking to Sam, isn't it? Because I mean, we had a great time, and it was all the stuff that he's got coming up, the new shows in development and everything, and all the one of the factors of that is starting the promotion and starting the selling of those shows really early, because I don't know about you, but I think we heard, you hear about shows coming to the West End a good year before they get there, because that's all part of, maybe longer. And then if they've come from a big tour or come from very often from Broadway, they've had a whole 18 months, a year's promotion before that. So it was fascinating to think that we started, and then we've only got a week's run in Brighton, but Patrick, the director, started promoting this in a small way on Facebook as a sort of, would you like to come to this event? And then that slowly built up. And then as the cast came in, our photographs started to appear. And then he's been doing a whole load of, again, in a smaller way, because it's a smaller scale production, but equally important. Promotion is, as you know, it's stunningly important. So he's been doing his interviews and stuff on radio. I think he popped up on a couple of podcasts and some local radio stations down in Brighton to pump that. And it's something we've touched on before, but I mean, promotion is just so vital these days. Marketing is everything, isn't it? Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, even something small like this podcast. I mean, we, as people will know, we use social media incredibly heavily. So we will post 3 or 4 times a week. We'll do sort of teasers to stuff that's coming up. We'll, as well as we do during the show where we talk and sort of say, this is what we've been up to, this is what we've got coming up. We will do the same through social media. It is vitally important, because I guess these days social media is so powerful that it is the number one way of getting things noticed. And there are so many different platforms through social media alone. I mean, we use Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and those cover quite a large proportion of what's out there, and actually quite an interesting sort of range of age groups and different demographics, because I think most people would probably say that Facebook tends to be a slightly older generation these days. I would say maybe Instagram is sort of a bit younger, and then not that we use it, but then TikTok is probably the most sort of youthful one, perhaps, like very much sort of popular at school age. Snapchat's another one.
Snap's another one, yeah. I mean, those are used, if you can get people, and then those are used, they're very good sort of word of mouth, because someone will put up something about, like, saw this great show the other night, or they'll go, I'm seeing so-and-so and plum. And then that starts the word of mouth.
Yeah.
Which is, you have no control over that as promotion, but it is so valuable that if people come out and tell somebody else to come and see the show, that is so valuable, because, you know, one person tells 2, 4, 6, you know, it just gets bigger and bigger. So isn't it? So but, it strikes me, you mentioned that, do you think that social media is probably the first place that people, I mean, I know when I've auditioned shows, that audition for shows, and people like, they ask you for your social media contacts, your you know, how big, you know, your handles at whatever. You know, that almost seems the first point of call, because you can make that happen immediately. You can sit there at the audition and go, just cast this wonderful blah blah blah, boom, gone. It's out there. You've already reached thousands of people. I
think its ease of use is a big player.
That's true.
I mean, it's interesting. There are so many different ways of promoting, aren't there? I mean, if you took, for example, Edinburgh Fringe Festival, which is one of the biggest events in the comedy and theatrical year, you could argue, that is so heavily reliant on posters and flyers. I personally haven't been, but obviously I know a lot of people that have. I know you yourself have been a couple of times. All right.
I've been up about 5, 6 times, over the years, with different shows and different methods of promotion as well when we've done it. I mean, it's always, as you say, the you get up there early, get your posters on the walls, and then, you know, anybody who's been to Edinburgh will know that every square inch of Edinburgh is covered with posters. They get over posted and over posted. I mean, it's, you know, after a couple of weeks, I think Edinburgh is smaller by about half an inch because all the posters are on the walls. You know, it's extraordinary. And then, as you say, hand billing. You know, I mean, just literally standing on the Royal Mile, but anywhere you go, there'll be some poor devil that is handing it. And also now that has gone out to professional companies.
Well, yeah.
I mean, the last, well, maybe not the last couple of times, but, you know, certainly in the past, you know, 5 or 6 years, if not more, professional companies have taken over. You know, you'll employ someone to flyer at least a couple of weeks, or poster a couple of weeks before you go up there, and then, you know, you can pay people to stand there and hand out your flyers.
Well, yeah, I suppose it's because it's so heavily contested. I mean, God knows how many shows are running consecutively,
thousands,
or simultaneously, or whatever the word is, in Edinburgh. So it's hugely competitive. So I guess promotion is really, really invaluable in that sense. And I mean, there's also been, I know that sometimes shows have sort of done almost snippets out as live street theatre, or there have been small video clips that have gone out to try and sort of entice people and say, look, this is what you want to come and see. You don't want to see any other rubbish. This is the show that you want to get involved in. And that's of course not just limited to Edinburgh. Edinburgh is a very good example of that. But I mean, I remember promoting, I think I've mentioned it before, I did a musical, brand new musical called Game Over, which dealt with some quite sensitive issues around suicide and mental health and depression and things like that. It was a black comedy, so there were very comic elements, but it had a real sort of heartfelt message to it. But I played the character Death. And I remember promoting the show with my good friend Harry, who was one of the other cast members, and he basically escorted me around the streets of London. I think where were we? I can't remember off the top of my head. It was at the Bread and Roses Theatre, I think.
I know. Yes.
I can't remember where it is. Anyway, central London. So I was carrying my scythe with my black sort of hooded cloak thing, and we did a bit of promo in the theatre, sort of taking some photos and stuff, which mainly went out on social media, but there were obviously posters and stuff. And then I think we did a bit of flyering as well, which had some people quite taken aback. I mean, obviously very much not scared. Like, the hood was down most of the time, and you've seen photos, haven't you? So I have underneath, yes. I had ridiculous, like, glittery, sparkly bow tie and a gold jacket, and had weird makeup. But I won't sort of spoil it, because hopefully the show will go on tour again. But very much Death is a game show host in this scenario. So he's very much almost like Dale Winton meets Richard O'Brien. Like, ridiculous stuff. But anyway, so I remember promoting that, and that, obviously, being how I was dressed, garnered quite a lot of interest. And as I was saying, there are things like that, particularly with Edinburgh, but with other stuff, where you might see small snippets of things going on out on the street, or you might see people dressed in weird and wonderful ways. I mean, you must have done some interesting sort of methods of promo in your time.
Well, I mean, Edinburgh, whilst we're still mentioning that, I mean, that every year they have an Edinburgh parade, the Fringe Festival parade. And most people use that to, advertise their show. So everyone's in costume, everyone is, hand-billing as they go. And there are various awards for, I mean, there certainly was when I did it. We were doing a couple of Joe Orton plays.
Right.
And our first play opens on the anniversary of Joe Orton's death.
Right.
So that was our first night. So we decided that going with the whole Joe Orton kind of, should we say, not sick humor, but we decided, we basically had me dressed up as Joe Orton, which is, is a sort of autobiographical role in Buffy and the Stair.
Yeah.
And we had a hearse. We hired a hearse. We put a coffin in the back, and every now and again I would, with the leather jacket and everything, I would sit bolt upright in the hearse, holding a hammer. Which, if people don't know, Joe Orton was bludgeoned to death by his lover Halliwell with a hammer. So it was, and then we were surrounded by we had nurses, nuns, and priests escorting the hearse.
Yeah.
And I remember the hearse driver goes, and he drove a hearse for a living. He was going, "What is this?"
So this wasn't just like a random hire. This was full kind of gubbins below, like him in and everything. Like,
oh yeah, no, it was a full on, and we were in the fringe parade. I mean, I remember it was being judged by Terry Jones from Monty Python.
Yeah,
and he sat, and we stopped, and he actually stood up, put his hand up, and stopped the whole parade. Came over, tapped on the window, wound the window down, and said, "I'm really sorry I can't give you a prize for this." He said, "but this happened to be one of the funniest things I've seen in many a long years." Well done, guys.
What a cool little claim to fame that is.
It was. And then he he waved away, went back and waved us off again, but off you go, because he said, and he came to see the show. We found out later, we did, but he said, he said, "I have to say that's probably one of the sickest ways of promoting, but what a brilliant way." And we got big audiences, because although we didn't win, we weren't in any of the categories to win. We were literally going to, advertising, but ridiculous way of promoting it. But I think, like you say, nowadays, of course, that would be filmed and whacked on. That would be on all the social media platforms. But as you say, filming it and getting it out.
Well, I mean, you still do have examples of things like that. So a couple of previous pantomimes I've done, there's been like a Christmas parade, and we've had like a float where obviously you're still on the back of a lorry as it drives around the closed off streets. And I've been in sort of full panto regalia, and we've had all the characters and possibly had some microphones and doing either small snippets of the script or singing silly songs or whatever, with lots of dancers dancing around and things. So yeah, there are still things like that that very much do go on. And pantomime is probably an excellent example or a good discussion point, because pantomime is at Christmas, or more than 99% of them. You do get the odd sort of summer pantos and stuff, but pantomime is associated with Christmas. but that doesn't mean that you're not promoting it like at other times of the year. I mean, the last few I've done, I'm pretty sure during that run we've talked about next year's and almost started going, go and get your flyers, go and here's the dates and stuff.
Yeah.
So that's a weird one, but it makes sense that you're sort of promoting 11 months of the year for something that happens for 1 month, whereas other stuff perhaps it's only really in the lead up, because people don't tend to book things that far in advance. Panto's a different entity, isn't it? Like, you know,
it is. Yeah. I mean, you almost think. Sorry, Sam.
So a lot of people have like a tradition; they'll go every year to a panto on a certain date, like be it Christmas Eve or New Year's Eve or whatever, Boxing Day. So people will always book the same. Whereas other stuff, if it's not sort of highly anticipated, i.e., pulling a random example, something like when Frozen the musical came over, because it was such a huge success and because it was Disney, people probably booked that months, years, whatever in advance. But a lot of other shows and other events, it's probably only when you sort of see it advertised a couple of months before that you go, oh yeah, that'd be quite nice. But people don't have the facility to necessarily book that far ahead for certain things.
Some things almost need no promotion. I mean, there's this. I mean, like when big shows come over, such as Frozen and Hamilton. I mean, the hype behind Hamilton was huge. I mean, and that was almost created by word of mouth. I mean, they hyped it. They put it somewhere. It obviously did enormously well on Broadway. So there's an anticipation, and that's its own self-promotion. You don't have to do anything then. And like you say, and then all you get is the promotion is like, get your tickets now. It's selling out, or it's been extended, whatever show that may be. Yeah. That's a rolling self-promotion. You don't, and then some shows, they have the merchandise and the merchandising and all that sort of, that is an amazing, you almost start seeing that the promotion, the merchandise before the promoting starts, before the show, Yeah. I mean, if you got, I guess
Harry Potter is a massive one there.
You took the words out of my mouth.
Yeah,
I'm absolutely going to say Harry Potter.
Obviously, the play was promoted, but I think so. Rowling released the script, didn't she? And I'm not sure, or the playbook or whatever you want to call it. Was it before it even premiered?
Yeah, so, I think you're right. I think it came out.
But I mean, when you are such a global phenomenon like that, I mean, possibly the biggest, what's the word for it? Franchise,
I guess you'd say, yes.
So it's got to be up there with the likes of Star Wars, and something like
easily.
I don't know, maybe something like Marvel. Harry Potter's got to be in sort of the top 2 or 3, you would think. So in essence, it probably didn't need a great deal of promotion because it's so globally adored that it wouldn't have had any problem selling. But that said, obviously there was still plenty of stuff about it, and again, online is the main sort of outlet for these kind of things.
It's interesting because you were going from books that people loved and adored, and that collected, read, they become childhood treasures, and have got people from not reading to reading. Then of course you've got, I mean, it was interesting because you've got an audience there that wouldn't necessarily be going to the theatre. So in a way, I suppose you're not promoting the show, you're promoting the experience, because you've got to go from reading the books to maybe to going to see the films. Okay, that's easier. Then you've got to go, right, okay, this is a completely different thing, because going to the cinema, that's a more regular thing for a lot of people than actually going. And also, you've got to get over the point, we can't ignore this, that if you're taking 2 children and a mum and dad and 2 children to the cinema, Okay, you're looking at, I don't know, about an average of £10-12 a head, maybe a little bit more if you're going to have the whole, but maybe you could take the whole family possibly out for a night and have a little nibble for about £100.
Yeah, I think
that's probably one ticket if you're going to the theatre.
Yeah,
for Harry Potter.
And to put it in perspective, for anyone that doesn't know, Harry Potter is not one play. It's two,
absolutely
it's one play, but it's split into 2 performances.
Yeah.
So even I would say even the cheapest, as you say, £100 is probably nigh on the cheapest single ticket.
Yeah.
So if you're talking mum, dad, 2 kids, well, that's 8 tickets. And then if you, because I know you haven't been, but I have. And when you go in the theatre it sits in the UK, you walk it and immediately there's merchandise absolutely everywhere. And I imagine it's almost impossible for parents to take kids in there.
Can't walk through there.
Mummy, Daddy, I need something. And then, so it's mental, but you're talking probably over £1,000 by the time. And that's only if you're localish to London. I mean, there is only one, as far as I'm aware, there's only that one theatre in the West End in the UK that performs it. I'm not sure if, now I say that, I'm not sure if there is one in Scotland as well. But I'm not sure. But I mean, there are a few worldwide. So I know it's in Australia. I know it's in, obviously, the US. I believe it's in Singapore or something like that.
It's worldwide. Yeah.
So there are 4 or 5, but certainly, as far as I'm aware, in the UK, like, so if you live somewhere like, I don't know, Manchester, and you want to see it, and as far as I'm aware, it's not there. You've got travel down to London. You've got probably accommodation. You've got the show itself. You've got the merchandise. You've got food while you're there. It's holiday money, like week-long holiday money, really, which is insane. So then again, perhaps that promotion is necessary because you've got to push it out to people and go, you love Harry Potter, great, but we've got to convince you to make that extra sort of step and go, this is a big impact.
This is, yeah. So, I mean, it's interesting because, we talk about, you would think, like you say, that would need no promotion. But then when you break it down, as you just have, you really have got to promote it. You really have got to sell it. I mean, anyway, you talked about pantomime, all these things you would think would need no promoting. But of course, it's the competition. You've got
that as well. Yes.
That's what you're selling. You're not necessarily saying, come and see this show, because people are looking, you can make your mind up about something. Sometimes you'll go, well, I don't fancy seeing that, but I really fancy seeing that. However, it's going to cost me, blah, blah, blah. Why should I go and see it when I could be going to see that? You've got to, it's the competition. And I mean, particularly coming now out of The Unwelcome Guest, it was very interesting talking to Sam Quested when he said, things are getting better, but it's a long process. And it was interesting to say that how production companies have been helped to sell and promote shows, slightly at the actor's expense because our wages have been held down.
We won't go into that.
We won't go into that, but that was like, yeah, thanks for that. Thanks for reminding us of that. But if you don't sell the show, then you can't. I mean, to a degree, I understand that, but the competition is enormous. That's why, like you say about pantos. I mean, I've done pantomime press launches in August, and you think, well, won't people have forgotten about this? No, because I'll do the press launch in August, and we'll do some kind of events. I mean, one year I did a wall climbing competition for Jack and the Beanstalk. Yeah, the climbing walls.
Yeah.
I was doing Jack and the Beanstalk the theatre decided that they would have Jack, and I was playing Flesh Creep, climbing the walls and have a race. So we did that, and then children were invited to come and join in, and we had photographs, and this went on all day, and it was great. And you were able at that event to book your tickets.
Yeah.
So it was great because you not only did they have us there, press, but they also had a ticket selling point. There was someone sitting there going, "Do you want 4 tickets?" Lovely, boom.
Yeah.
That and there were 3 other pantomimes close by. So we had to, it was, it had to be done,
and that is it. Absolutely. It's not necessarily
competition.
Selling your show. It's selling your show above others.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely.
Well, come and see us, not them. And obviously not in so many words. You don't kind of like put negatives out about others, but it's that, where is the edge? What have we got that someone else hasn't? And I guess we have that as personal, on a personal level as well as performers. You have to sell yourself. We have updated headshots every now and then and go, look how great I look, or look how unique I am even. And the whole social media going, I'm doing this at the moment, I'm doing that at the moment, to show that you're busy, because that means you're in demand. It's I had an interesting conversation with my agent recently, and talked about like doing what, and it's so much easier to make someone seem appealing, shall we say, if they are busy working. Because if you approach someone and go, I've got a great person for your thing, and are they available? Oh yeah. Like, well, hang on, what you want them to say is, well, yes, they've got certain dates available, let's see if they meet up. Because then you're going, well, they're working, they're in demand, there's something about them, rather than someone who's stuck for nothing to do, and you go, well, that little bit of that, why aren't they? So it's a very interesting side of the industry, isn't it? Trying to sell either yourself or something that you're involved in as a product.
It's interesting because we are, as you mentioned, there's a product. We are products in products. So we're selling ourselves to be then, which is why, going right back to where we started, why a lot of, people ask, what is your, are you on, what social media platforms are you on? Do you have a big Twitter following? And, and I've known people, I've got a friend of mine, I think I might have mentioned it before, she lost a job to someone else because they had a bigger Twitter following. That was the criteria. They were both. It is wrong, but you can see. I can almost see it. And it's like putting, not great performers in panto, but if they have a big, big following, they're on a good TV show. You can see why it's done. It is.
Well, we've talked about that before, haven't we? And said how someone's how they are known and what their outreach is a big player. Panto is a big element of that.
Panto is a big seller on that,
because it's names you recognise doing something perhaps that they wouldn't normally do.
Yeah,
right. Yeah. But equally, we've seen a lot of what's known as stunt casting in sort of like the West End and in theatres, where you've got, I don't know, what did I see? I saw 9 to 5. Was it a couple of years back? I think it might have been before The Unwelcome Guest. But one of the leads was most famous for Love Island. And I thought, oh, bloody hell. But actually, she was incredible. And she was a triple threat, fully trained. I think she went to Manchester.
Fully trained musical theatre, wasn't she? Yeah.
But her way of getting the publicity in the first place had been she'd gone on Love Island. And there's a little bit of me that thinks it's quite sad that people have to take those sort of routes, maybe, to get the publicity that they deserve as a top performer. But I guess
the reward of that is you get someone who can do it like she could do it, and then you get someone like Gem, or whatever her name is, from Towie, who had to pull out of a show recently. Whether she said blah blah blah, but my opinion is, should she have been there? I don't think she had the track record. I don't think she had the chops, which is probably why she came out of it. That's supposition. If she didn't, and if there was a genuine reason, I apologise to her. But my opinion is she shouldn't have been anywhere near it in the first place.
No.
But and I think there's quite a few performers feel that. But again, you could say, well, if she'd have gone on there and she'd have done a brilliant job, I would have ate humble pie and I'd have gone, well, I take my hat off to you. Yeah. So you never know what the reasons are, but it is a shame that sometimes, like you say, you have to do that to get noticed, but then sometimes 15 minutes of fame leads to another 15 minutes and another
It does. And at the end of the day, it is a business. It exists to sell.
Absolutely.
So People need to promote, and no better way to promote than having a star. So,
Absolutely.
but yeah. So I take it then that your next week has more rehearsals and probably more promotion of your upcoming show.
It has, mate. Yes, we've been a little bit stymied by the rail exploits this week, so we'll be readjusting our timetables and probably sticking in a few extra hours. But yeah, it's more to come. I'm loving it. I mean, it's a brilliant play. It's going to be great fun. So, when anybody in Brighton, I'm doing more. I'm going to promote it now.
Promo, quick.
I'm going to promote it now. Anybody in Brighton between the 6th and the 9th of July, come and see One Man, Two Governors at the Brighton Open Air Theatre with me. There we are, finished.
Very nice.
What do you got coming up next week, mate?
I haven't got a great deal to promote. As mentioned earlier, we've got an amazing guest on next week, so I'm going to be finalising the last few bits for that to welcome them on. I've also got some more immersive theatre, a bit of voiceover to get done, and actually an exciting thing. I'm off to the theatre again to see a show which I've been waiting to see for a long time, but I will reveal more about that in a future episode, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, tell us about that. Yeah, save that.
Yeah, but save that. Aside from that, mate, I will just do the usual. I'm going to see you in a bit, but after I've seen you for this show, I'll be just looking forward to joining you again for another episode of Drewling Samantics.
What can I say, buddy? It's a pleasure as always, and yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Absolutely looking forward to it.
So once again, congratulations to Sam and Robin.
Yes, congratulations.
Engaged. It was lovely to have Sam on last week. And mate, cheers to you. I'll see you in a bit. But everyone else, as usual, join us next week. Thanks for tuning in.
Next week. Take care, people.
Cheers. See you later on. Thanks again for tuning in. We hope you've enjoyed watching this episode of Drewling Samantics.
If you have, then please consider subscribing to our channel and you'll get notified every time a new video is released. Don't forget, we're also available as audio only. Just search Drewling Samantics in any good podcast app.
Please support us on other social media too. We're on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, and all our links and handles are on screen now.
We love welcoming new followers and subscribers, so please share with your family and friends, and we'll be eternally grateful. Stay safe, and we'll see you next time.